Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Dead Air Live. Tonight's show is going to be a good one. We have two tapes for you. They're about women organising politically in different ways. The first one uses dance, theatre and music, and the second one uses direct action. Now, the first tape we're going to show you is of the Wallflower or Dance Collective. They're a troupe of dancers who've been together about 8 years. They dance around the themes of people in struggle against all forms of oppression, against racism, against sexism, for national liberation, for labour unions. And we filmed them last October when they were in Dorchester at the Strand Theatre. Now, some of the members lived in the Boston area, but they've now all moved out to California, so they only come through town now and again. We find them very inspiring, and we advise you not to miss them when they come this way again. The interview we did with them, we did the next day, and we were helped out by somebody who wasn't in the Somerville producers group. Her name is Lorraine Brown. The camera work was done by Charlie Tesh and Linda Rubin and Claire Beach, and the audio was done by Paul Serapis. Marcia Green also did camera work. Larry Yeager did editing, and Sandra Stephen did producing on the tape. So now here it goes. We hope you like it.
many talks from our great white fathers. When he first came over the wide waters, he was but a little man. His legs were cramped from sitting in his big boat. And he begged for a little land to light his fire on. But when the white man had warmed himself by our fires and filled himself with our harmony, he became very large. With a step he bestrode the mountains, and his feet covered the valleys and the plains, and his hands grasped the eastern and western seas, and his head rested on the moon. He then became our great white father. He loved his red children and said, "Get a little further, lest I tread on thee." We were forced westward, a trail of tears, a winter death mark of cold and sickness and hunger. We fought hard, but their guns were well aimed. The bullets flew like birds through the air and whizzed by our ears like the wind through the winter. Warriors fell around us. Where today are the Pequot? The Narragansett, the Mohican, and the many other once powerful tribes of our ancestors. They have vanished before the avarice and the oppression of the white man.
Why are you called Wallflower?
Well, in 1975, 5 of us got together and we were looking for a name for a group. And someone read a book by Ishmael Reed, which talked about, and actually the bad guys in the book were called the Wallflower Order. But we decided that it was a name that applied because we were trying to combat the idea of wallflowers, of women sitting on the sidelines waiting to be asked to dance, and that we wanted to get up and dance.
¿A dónde? Candombe de Baquine, candombe. Vedlo aquí dormido, todo está dormido. ¿Quién lo habrá dormido? Babilongo ha sido, ya no tiene oído, ya no tiene oído. Pero que ahora verá la playa, pero que ahora verá el palmar, pero que ahora del fuego grande contempla podrá bailar. Si a la Guinea su zombie vuelva, coqui, coco, cucucacá, como el mongo bajo la selva, su tierno paso con
sometimes we decide that that everybody will have input into one piece, or one person will take a whole piece or an idea and go away and make a whole piece basically, and then come back and teach it to us, and then we all learn it and decide whether it works or doesn't work and put our input into it.
I'd like to welcome all of you. You know, it's a real pleasure for my husband Michael and I to offer our gardens, our land, and our domes to those of you of this beautiful human race who are looking for a retreat from the world.
Dad, get me another talk while y'all break. I'm gonna keep working. Why? Because I'm already behind, and Billy Ray's gonna knock my teeth in if I don't make right today. He's all nervous about being laid off. Oh, me.
I'll leave you high and dry before you leave me with tears in my eyes. Perfect. A slightly feminist love song. It won't offend anybody.
Listen, children. Please remember you don't speak any Spanish at the dinner table. It upsets your father very much.
Janet, you'll never guess what I did on my way home from work. I got a see-through negligee. Well, Dr. Drucker said try creating an atmosphere of fantasy for him. But he's so hooked on the goddamn football game. You won't even notice it, let alone see through it.
Michael and I have nurtured this land as if it were our own child, and we do hope that you will treat it with great respect. You see, we believe that the only way to change the world is by purifying each little tiny individual.
Yeah, well, I got 3 kids starting school next week, and I can't afford shoes for them, because it takes every penny Billy Ray makes just to pay the mortgage on the trailer. Reagan calls this trickle-down economics. Hell, I'd rather be pissed on than trickle-down.
We make all the decisions collectively about, you know, what our year plan is, what we want to do political benefits for, what we want our shows to be about. And so everything is done collectively. Everyone has an equal vote and equal say in what we do. Some of the women in the group weren't your typical dancer, size and background, and they wanted to do their own thing, and they were good dancers too. So it was just a matter that they didn't necessarily fit in to the mold of what a dancer has been in this society.
very, very hard, Mama. 12 to 14 hours a day, every day. On Saturday, a sign goes up. If you don't come in on Sunday, you need Bob to come in on Monday. No. Mama?
Why did you leave your church?
With whom did you leave and how long did it take?
What did you expect when you got here?
What difficulties did you have?
I got a new job, Mama. At the packing house. With casings. Intestines. I string them up over a pipe and then run cold water through them. Grade the different sizes. The other day, Mama, I was getting sleepy from the hot air pipes overhead. I got sleepier and sleepier. I hardly knew what I was doing. Then all at once, one of those casings burst and I got myself drenched with cold water. That woke me up. Mama, I've got to bring you here. And Jacob, Esther, and Aunt Yetta. I am so alone. I had hoped that maybe I could spend Pesach with Rose. But they told me that a Jewish holiday was no excuse for a vacation. Those people I remember well, and at least 2 centuries have passed since we saw them. They travel neither on horseback nor in carriage, but purely on foot they undid the distances, carrying neither sword nor weapon but nets on their shoulders, axe, hammer, or spade. Their struggle was with the water or with earth, with the towering trees to yield wood, with the wheat for it to become bread, with the sand to form it into walls, and with the sea for it to bear fruit. They were the people, all right, without inheritance, cattle, or coat of arms. And they did not stand out from one another. From above, we were gray as clay. We were drab as leather. We were black deep in the mines, in the fishing boats the color of tuna, horse-colored in the meadows. How could anyone distinguish us if we were inseparable, the elements earth, sea, or clay, in the guise of a people? I think that those who make so many things ought to be the masters of everything, and those who make bread ought to eat, and those in the mines should have light. Enough by now of gray people in chains, enough of pale lost ones, fruits of the sun for all the obscure ones. Everything will pass and we will still be living. We set fire to life. We make what is ours.
Mostly we're supported by our audiences and by the people who come to see us and who want to see us survive. So we really survive due to the support of the community and the people who see us.
Okay, welcome back to the studio. We hope you liked the tape, and we're sorry for the technical difficulties there. The music was by Grupo Reyes, and we also had some help from Kiki Harold, who works at SMAP. Didn't I tell you they were inspiring? They always make me feel like becoming a dancer. So you have to see them next time around. Now, the next tape we have for you is called Stronger Than Before. It's an award-winning documentary by the Boston Women's Video Collective. It's about the Women's Encampment for a Future of Peace and Justice, which took place at Romulus, New York this past summer. The camp was to protest the deployment of the cruise and perishing nuclear missiles which were stored at the Seneca Falls Army Base in Romulus, New York. The women had the camp open the whole summer, and in fact some women have kept the camp open even though the missiles have already been deployed to Europe. And they're going to have the camp on next summer, and they invite any of you to come along. Men are also welcome. Men helped a lot in the camp doing childcare, etc., and came on some of the protests. Now, the tape has been shown nationally through on public television through the Cambridge Forum series. It's been distributed widely in Europe, and some people took it to England, and it's been shown a lot in England. And it's also recently won an award at JVC National Video Contest. It came first place. So here we are, stronger than before.
We have gathered as women at the Seneca Army Depot to challenge the nuclear threat represented by the weapons stored here. We have come to stop their deployment. As first strike weapons, they lead us one step closer to planetary annihilation.
The Women's Encampment for a Future of Peace and Justice opened on July 4th, 1983, in the small town of Romulus, New York. Throughout the summer and into the fall, hundreds of women camped out on 51 acres of farmland next to the Seneca Army Depot. The depot is thought to be a storage site for nuclear weapons and is the probable departure point for missiles to be deployed in Europe. The women there sought not only to halt the missiles, but to challenge the mentality which they believe threatens to destroy life on Earth.
I have 4 sons, and the oldest is 24, and the youngest is 18. I remember back when that youngest one was a toddler, and I suddenly realized that what I'd done was I'd given birth to a lot of cannon fodder for the Vietnam War, and so I started organizing a political movement in my kitchen with another woman. So I had been in it and out of it, burned out on that and back out. But I remember this kid toddling around in the kitchen while I made phone call after phone call. And that kid has to register for the draft this summer, so I'm doing it again.
I believe the women in this encampment have done a very brave thing in coming here and trying to bring attention to the necessity of the very serious conflict which exists with the, serious expanding nuclear arms race which threatens the very survival of humanity itself. And I think women have to take a leading role in that. We don't have much power in the decision-making in governments, whether in this government or in the Soviet Union or other places, but we have the power of numbers, and we have the power of our nurturing feelings, and we have the power of our belief in survival, and this is what this is about.
Chinese have a proverb, women hold up half the heavens, and we know that women are more than half the world. And part of what we're trying to do as women at the Peace Encampment at Seneca, at Greenham, at Comiso, at many, many places around the world, we're trying to marshal the energies of women to transform the world.
On July 4th, the women staged their first of many demonstrations. They marched from the camp to the depot, and through symbolic actions, they dramatized their hopes and their fears.
to the commander of the Seneca Army Depot, the Secretary and Department of Defense, and the President. From the Women's Encampment for a Future of Peace and Justice. We have gathered as women at the Seneca Army Depot to challenge the nuclear threat represented by the weapons stored here. We have come to stop their deployment. As first strike weapons, they lead us one step closer to planetary annihilation by making nuclear confrontation and intervention more likely and by rendering a freeze impossible. As we speak today, our voices express the hopes and fears of women throughout the world. We demand the dismantling of every weapon stored at the depot and the depots. And the depot's conversion to non-military purposes, providing jobs for the local community. We demand a halt to the deployment of the Cruise and Pershing II missiles and immediate freeze of all nuclear weapons. We will continue to act at Seneca and around the world until we are answered. We bring bread and roses as a symbol of the alternative world we are working towards, where both the body and spirit are nurtured rather than threatened with extermination. The Army's depot's motto is mission first, people always. Ours will be, our first mission is always people. I would like to know if someone from the Army Depot could accept this statement on behalf of the commander, the Secretary and Department of Defense, or the President, if they would please come forward and accept the statement. We would also like to know if you would please take the bread as a symbol of our solidarity. Break it. Give them half. It's good. It's full. Break it. It's good.
I'm in a place surrounded by such a diverse group of women, you know, age-wise, from those little baby girls up to those 87-year-old fence-hopping women. And it provides for me, at the age of 56, still I have need for role models. I still am learning that women can be strong and can be free, and I'm seeing an image of it all around me every day. I think that the patriarchal forces are working on us all the time and always pushing my mind closed and saying, oh, give it up, you know. It's some crazy dream.
We have unloaded 30 tons of gravel. We have brought in 22 porta-janes. A group of women last weekend dug through this hard clay 1,000 feet in 3 hours. And that's one of the reasons why this is a woman's encampment, because this is a space where we can do whatever we want to be able to do and develop our skills, and there isn't anything we can't do. And that goes for stopping a missile.
We are a patient, stubborn people, and we are singing for our lives. We are a patient, stubborn people, and we are singing for our lives. We are bright, courageous people, and we are singing for our lives. We are bright, courageous people, and we are singing for our lives.
We came here, as you know, because the men are about to kill all life on the planet. And we're trying to save life on the planet. It's like almost impossible because we've got to change almost everything, and it is a terrible nuisance. But I cling to the word almost. It's maybe we can do it.
If we were just there at the depot saying nuclear weapons are a threat to us all, there's no reason why we shouldn't be men and women. Many men feel that too. I think what distinguishes us here is that we have, almost all of us, the feminist vision that we're never going to end war unless we dissolve the patriarchy.
An important aspect of their feminist vision was a commitment to give every woman a voice. To this end, they determined all policies by consensus, a time-consuming and often frustrating process. Consensus was put to a test when a Romulus resident asked the peace campers to fly an American flag on July 4th.
I am scared to fly that flag. I'm scared of what that represents to people in this country who are oppressed. I believe that we're all oppressed here in this country.
I'd like to somehow communicate that I am an American, you know, for all the horrible things that America does and continues to do. That is who I am. I don't have power or control over the decisions a lot, and I'm trying like hell to get more.
It seems to me that there's got to be some way we can use the symbolism of the flag to say something. And I'm not sure exactly what that is, but somehow I feel, I trust in this group process that we can come up with some way to utilize that symbol to say what we want to say.
There were 5 women who really wanted to fly the flag. There were 5 women who really did not want to fly the flag. And there were 5 brave souls who said, we'll help mediate this. And so the 15 of them met for 6 hours. And at the end of the 6 hours, the only thing they talked about was the flag. At the end of that time, they said, well, what we'll do is we'll have women make their own flags, and we'll fly a bunch of flags on the 4th of July, and people can make whatever it is that feels like a good flag for them.
When the flag incident happened, I feel what happened was that a war of symbols began. They had the flag, and we had our hands, and we had our pillowcases, but we didn't have any conversation.
The only reason I'm here is what the thing with the flag. You know, I'm not totally upset about it, but the flag does mean an awful lot to me. I guess, I don't know if my mind would be different if I wasn't a vet or not, but I'm an American. You gotta respect it.
Tension between the camp and the community grew throughout the summer. It reached a peak in late July when women marched through the town of Waterloo in celebration of the region's rich history in women's rights. The marches were blocked by several hundred angry townspeople as they crossed a bridge. Some of the women sat down, and 54 of them were arrested for refusing to disperse.
First I saw this huge group of people there, and so my friend and I kind of climbed through the people, and then I saw a group of women sitting and chanting and looking kind of frightened. And then I saw this one woman, all in purple, a woman from Vermont, who looked at me straight in the eyes and grabbed me and started heaving and crying hysterically, and she was scared. She was frightened for her life.
We sat down for two reasons. We sat down to say we have a right to do this. We also sat down to diffuse their violence, because though we were saying we have a right to do this, we were also saying we're not going to thrust our way through you.
When we got arrested, I wasn't too sure why I was getting arrested, but more and more it seems to me that we got arrested because we were, not only because we were lesbians or because the town perceived us to be lesbians, but because we were women, and it was easier to arrest us than it was to arrest these men, and because we were going to be nonviolent, it was easier to arrest us too than to arrest these men who might strike back at them.
They were saying, go home commies, go home Jews, nuke the lesbies. Sometimes they also said, kill the Jews, and let's see some blood. When they said, go home commies, most of them don't really know what communism is, but they saw another form of government. When they said, go home Jews, they saw another form of religion. When they said, nuke the lesbies, they saw another form of sexuality. And it's true, if you dissolve patriarchy, you change the form of government, the form of religion, the form of sexuality. So in a certain sense, they were very perceptive, even though they were out of their minds.
The arrested women were arraigned in a makeshift courthouse at the Seneca County Fairgrounds. Both encampment women and local residents turned out to watch the proceedings.
America is wrong in a lot of the things they do, but America is the best country in this world, and it's the best we got. And I don't think that these women here putting America down, trying to put the blame on America for the problems we have in the third world countries, as well as throughout the world, is, I don't see how they can do that. I think they should go to Russia and gather around the Kremlin and blow up the Kremlin or something worthwhile.
We were very concerned as villagers of Waterloo that our mayor had expressed in an interview that the sentiments of the villagers were represented Saturday in that group of 300 people. And there are certainly more than 300 people in this village, and many of us do not feel that what they did was appropriate, since we feel very strongly that people who wish to come through our village peacefully have every right to do so. And we were quite concerned about the behavior of our own elected officials.
The anger and fury at the bridge at Waterloo was still, to me, part of it was really a dialogue. I mean, it was a dialogue that began in rage, and because of the position, the foolish position of the town in arresting people, it's really given lots of townspeople an opportunity to come forward and speak.
I'm more than willing to exchange with you, but I don't want to be accused of being anti-American or disloyal or anything. I am concerned about your life. I'm concerned about my life. I'm concerned about my children's. I'm concerned about Russian children's lives. I don't care who is the first to throw the bomb. We're all going to go.
I feel that our government knows what they're doing, and if they don't feel that they should be there, then they wouldn't be there.
We are the government. And do you want somebody to die so one government can say that they're right and the other can try and say the other's wrong? We're going to die in that process. That's not a constructive, healthy process.
All I have to say is we all have to go sometime.
Although the arrested women were eventually released and charges against them dismissed, the experience at Waterloo led the peace campers to intensify their training in nonviolence. Prior to a large demonstration and civil disobedience action on August 1st, workshops in peacekeeping were organized.
Acting together in a nonviolent way creates power, and that is why I said at the beginning, we are choosing the most effective political strategy there is for confrontation. This is power. And that's the job of the peacekeeper, you know? Yeah, okay. Civil disobedience is making a very conscious choice to non-cooperate with a law that protects the rights of people who we believe are breaking the law.
And what kind of forms can civil disobedience take?
Well, in this instance, and what we're going to be doing tomorrow, it's going to take the form of people consciously deciding to not respect the property rights of people who are breaking international treaties by using weapons of violence that can annihilate civilians. It's against international law.
And how effective do you think civil disobedience will be?
All I can say is that I will be being the best human being I can be tomorrow.
We are going to a peaceful world. Does anyone want to come with us? We are going to a peaceful world. Does anyone want to come along? And singing, hey, the flowers, hey, the sunshine, hey, the road. Does anyone want to come along? We're getting it together. We are going into the gate. Does anyone want to come with us? We are going into the gate. Does anyone want to come along? And singing, hey, the road, hey, the traffic, hey, the people. Does anyone want to come along?
3,000 women joined the march to the gates of the depot, where once again they were confronted by angry townspeople. Violence was averted, and the women went ahead with their planned actions. 244 were arrested for committing civil disobedience by climbing over the depot fence.
Well, I'm here as an Italian, as a European, and as a woman. As an Italian, as an European, and as a person who lives in Sicily, an hour and a half away from a base where, by the end of this year, 112 cruise missiles are bound to arrive. I'm here connecting with my American sister to protest the deployment of these missiles.
We have a line of peacekeepers here.
In El Salvador and Central America, we are witnessing with anguish the United States' enormous military escalation that threatens the lives of the people of the region. Now, with the excuse of national security interests, the Reagan administration has escalated the militarization to such a degree that the whole region is being threatened. The people of El Salvador and Central America want nothing but peace.
Here for the German people who are adapting to the majority against the deployment of Pershing II and cruise missiles. And as you might know, our country is going to be the only one where Pershing II shall be deployed. So we have come here to link with our sisters to object to the madmen running the world, when we want to stop the arms race because we will have no chance if we don't make it.
We feel that we are citizens of the world rather than citizens of different nations. We want to save the world's life. We want to save the world. We want to save the earth.
The demonstration on August 1st was the largest single action, but women continued to work for their vision of peace and justice throughout the summer.
Somehow that word expectation sounds to me like, you know, do you think we've moved the nation closer to establishing a nuclear freeze, or have we done something essential about stopping nuclear war? And I guess, you know, no, I can't think that we've done that specifically, but the most important thing that happens out of this, in my perception, is the connections that women's energy are making through these experiences. And out of that is the only hope, I think, of saving life on the planet.
What are you taking with you as you leave?
The spirit. A sense of empowerment. It was an incredible experience, and going home with energy to continue peace work in my own community.
More than anything, hope and a determination to fight this battle as long as I'm alive.
It's been an incredible learning experience for me to see women of various sexual persuasions as well as colors and backgrounds, ages, coming together for one purpose.
Where you have hunger, there is war. Where you have ignorance, there is war. When you have squatter settlements and people eating out of garbage cans, as I see in my neighborhood, or people with no homes, or people dying of disease and lack of immunization and lack of food, well, then that is war. And that's why I say we must stop the deployment of the cruise and missiles in Western Europe, not only this year, but any year. And I think it's important to understand that we can do it. We must also realize that the missiles are already deployed in the barrios, in the ghettos, in the Bantustans, in the occupied territories. And that's what we're talking about.
We are the old women, we are the new women, we are the same women, stronger than before. We are the old women, we are the new women, we are the same women, stronger than before. We are the old women, we are the new women, we are the same women, stronger than before. We are the old women, we are the new women, we are the same women, stronger than before. We are the old women, we are the new women, we are the same women, stronger than before. We are the old women, we are the new women, we are the same women, stronger than before. We are the old women, we are the new women, we are the same women, stronger than before. We are the old women, we are the new women, we are the same women, stronger than before. We are the old women, we are the new women, we are the same women, stronger than before. We are the old women, we are the new women, we are the same women, stronger than before. We are the old women, we are the new women, we are the same women, stronger than before. We are the old women, we are the new women, we are the same women, stronger than before. We are the old women, we are the new women, we are the same women, stronger than before.
Thanks to the Women's Video Collective for that tape, Stronger Than Before. Some of the collective members are in the Somerville Producers Group as well. And don't forget that you're invited to go to the camp next summer at Romulus, New York. Tonight on camera we had Nella La Rosa Waters, audio was done by Paul Serapis, switching by Charlie Tesh and Paul Clover, lighting by Woody Bavata, tapes by Hala Jadala and Claire Beach, floor manager Larry Yeager, directed by Linda Rubin, produced by Claire Beach, trainee camera Stephen Sherblum, and hosted by myself, Sandra Stephen. And thank you for joining us, and tune in 2 weeks' time, 8 o'clock. Our next show will be on breakdancing, and we'll need you to vote for who the best breakdancer in Somerville is. Thanks again, folks, from Dead Air Live.